I have two first stories, believe it or not.
Okay.
Okay, the first one is that I went in like 1993, and it was in Stamford, Connecticut. But my mother lived in Portchester, so I came down from where I was, and I was, I had an agent, I had finished a book, but I was shy to introduce myself to people, which when I tell the story to Tom Monteleone, he goes, you are shy? And I remember I was like so awed because F. Paul Wilson and Rick Hodla and John Skipp, when he was with Craig Spector, were doing all these like hilarious routines. And Peter Straub was there, and I remember he like towered over everybody, and he was smoking, like the old days, the good old days of conventions. So, but I never introduced myself to anyone. It was like kind of salad days for me. So I just like went back and forth to my mother's house every night. But I was so enthralled, and there was like a huge range of things that they were doing. Like somebody was doing this whole thing like with Grand Guignol type theater, and they were doing like that. Paul had on his like doctor's coat, and they were doing like the quizzes, the game shows and all that. And they were so funny. I would be like laughing. I'd be driving home like at 11:30 or midnight, laughing to myself. So that's the first one. Then I was teaching for a long time, and then I decided, well, it's time for me to get back to writing again. So now fast forward to I think it was either 2002, and it was the Stoker Award weekend in New York, and I had lost touch with I didn't meet anybody the first time, so it didn't matter, and I was like very much working in isolation at that point. Anyway, I got all excited because Jack Fisher asked me for every single thing I brought. He was going to look at every bit of it. So I was like, oh my God, this is incredible. So interestingly enough, I met Robert Dunbar, Dennis Cummins, Corinne DeWinter, and 12 years later, they're still three of my closest, dearest friends. I believe that Brian Keene won that year for Hell Notes. Is that right? It's we had to fact check that. Okay. Anyway, I remember that all of us, because I was talking to Rob Dunbar so much, and we were chit-chatting about this, that, and Dallas, and I couldn't believe it. So next thing I know, Rob goes, well, we're going to go to this bar. And so I found myself, and he's also very good friends with Trish Kasek. So all of a sudden I realized I'm sitting at this table in this bar with Robert Dunbar, Dallas, Jack Ketchum, which I even said to him, should I call you Jack Ketchum? He goes, no, that's for fans. Friends call me Dallas. Petey Kasek and Peter Straub. And I called my mother at 4 o'clock in the morning. I said, Mom, you can't even believe, this is like a confluence of events that if I had a wish list, it couldn't happen. So those were, and all of those memories are very, very special to me. Here's the thing, here's another thing I didn't know, which if I'd been an HWA member, someone could have told me. When I was writing, at that time, I was doing like the Henry James thing, like I'm going to perfect my craft before I start to tackle a novel. So I was like writing all these short stories, getting terrific feedback. Tom Piccirilli wrote me so many nice notes, I can't even tell you when he was at Space and Time. So many nice notes. All over the world, England, da-da-da. Well, here's the thing I didn't know. At that time, it would have been easier to get a novel published than it would be to get a short story published. How would I have known that? Because I was working in isolation. Isolation's, it's great for when you're sitting down to work to not have a lot of frou-frou going on around you, but it sucks. I mean, I really was upset about the fact that, I couldn't understand what was wrong with my book. There was nothing wrong with it. The timing was wrong. And the most important thing is, if I'd been an HWA member at that point, somebody would have said to me, you're taking this personally. You may think you're being professional, but you are taking it personally, and this is not personal. This is business. And there's trends in business. That's simple. So that one thing alone. But I also think too that you want to be in the community, you want to write horror. Why not know what's going on, what's happening, what people are doing, what's been happening before? People can steer you to stuff. Also too, really the networking over the years. Every time you come doesn't pay off, of course. But you meet people, you get a reputation after a while. It's like, okay, that person's professional. If she says she's going to do something, she does it. Plus, you know what? As you come in and start moving up, you get the chance to start helping other people who are coming in. That's crucial. How are you going to live as an artist if you're not doing that? Because if you're not learning yourself, and you're going to learn from above you and as a sort of mentor teacher / teacher to other people, because their ideas are going to open you up. And if they're 10, 15, 20, however many years younger than you are, they're going to have a different perspective on stuff. True. So I would say, give it a shot, you know? There's 99% of the people are very friendly, very open to helping new members, really amenable to making people comfortable and fit in and giving, you know, good, solid advice. Yeah, experiment, have fun with it. It's like any other job, you know, whether you're writing at night or just weekends, or you're, you know, lucky enough to write full time. The thing is, some days it's like any other job. Some days it's just like you can't believe how much freaking scut work it is, and other days it just soars, and everything is great. Also, too, I would say every piece that you work on is a little different. So when you think that you know your process, okay, this is how I do it, this is how I solve it, all of a sudden here comes another piece, and you should be challenging yourself like this. You should be trying to, it doesn't necessarily even have to be groundbreaking for the outside world, but it should be a challenge for you. You're going to say, holy shit, that's not my process after all. Now my process is this. And that's part of the fun, because I was on a panel last night. I just didn't get a chance to ask this question, but I wanted to ask the group, do you see yourself as ever like retiring from writing? Do you think that you're going to be like, you know, 85 years old and you're still working? Because if you do, which I think most of us do, we don't ever see ourselves as retiring. Like, what else are we going to do? Whatever, you know, whatever other jobs you have or anything else, you're not going to be. You're not going to want to keep repeating yourself, because then why would you do it when you're, you know, as death's door keeps coming closer? So when you're, and if, you know, you're going to want to experiment. You're going to want to grow. So it's important to keep that in mind, that this is a lifelong thing, and it's over time. People, I love listening to people's stories. When did they first write? When were they first attracted? When did they step into it? So, you know, you might even have phases where you burn out for a little while. That's okay, you'll go back to it. Sure. Some of the best people feel that way. Next thing you know, 2 months later, they're like, and now I'm working on. It's okay. It's okay.